He's a physical therapist who has a show on Amazon Prime, and he taught himself filmmaking from YouTube at 2 a.m.
Pretty much gonna be the next Bill Nye the Science Guy, but better.
He also founded Gross Anatomy Studios, a media company that produces sketch comedy, 3D animation, and a web series that's on Amazon Prime.
I didn't have a choice. I couldn't go back to film school. I couldn't hire my buddy from Ithaca College to make videos every week.
He taught himself every single production skill from YouTube tutorials between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. after full days in the clinic.
From 10 to 2 a.m., I would be on YouTube learning Adobe After Effects or Premiere Pro or Final Cut or color correction or motion graphics or how to make my DSLR cinematic.
He writes scripts in his head on the subway, so when he sits at the computer, a 3-page script takes 5 minutes.
It takes me 3 minutes. 5 minutes to write a 3-page script, let's just say.
But after a decade of building all those skills, his biggest bottleneck is still editing.
Editing. It's just my least favorite thing to do. I'm a very good editor. I just have a hard time getting to the computer.
That's exactly the gap Content Stash is built for. You've already done the hard part. Content Stash audits what you have and repurposes it into new formats, so you're not stuck in a timeline at midnight. You have a doctorate in physical therapy, and you were previously an orthopedic clinical specialist.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
manage also a clinic that treats Broadway performers.
Mhm.
I'm curious, at what point did you decide I'm also going to be a filmmaker and run a media company?
Mhm. So it was pretty much, and I went to Ithaca College, so it was a 5-year physical therapy program. And I remember the final year that I was there, it was like our last semester, and there's like this like holding space where we would have lunch and hang out between classes. And it was like I think the class was like surgical orthopedics or orthopedic surgery. And I left, and it was a final semester of school. I left, and I had this eureka moment. It was like, I have to put this on television, and I have to be on it. Pretty much gonna be the next Bill Nye the Science Guy, but better, And I didn't know what it was gonna look like. That's a lie. I had an idea of what it was gonna look like. It was gonna be narrative and storytelling, like a sitcom. I grew up in the '90s, obsessed with Family Matters and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Step by Step, all those shows. But that was like a blip, and I put it in that instance from the classroom, which is maybe like, I don't know, 20 feet to this stair area, exactly what I just told you. And I told myself I'd wait 5 years, that I wanted to be like an expert. I wanted to get tons of mentoring and be really, really, really good before I even started getting into filmmaking. But filmmaking, I guess it would be more of being a showrunner rather than films. That was I wanted to have a television show, an episodic sitcom type of thing. And then that's when the journey did not start. Then I went full on like the best physical therapist in the world. Like that was my goal. And around 4 years in, I was treating a patient who was an actor and had her own show, and she invited me, and a few of her friends were there. We all went out to have dinner afterwards, and I sat next to her friend, who happened to be a documentary filmmaker. And we are just chatting about what we were both doing. And I said, I have a dream of making a documentary about low back pain. He was like, "Oh, that's really interesting. I make documentaries for a living." And I was like, "No, that's really, really cool." I was like, "Do you have any advice?" And he's like, "Actually, they're doing courses at this place called Brick Arts Media for adults, and it's like really, really inexpensive." I mean, I took down that information right away. Like as soon as he said that to me. And that weekend, I looked it up, and fair enough, it was like $50 for a whole weekend to learn field production. Like field production, like 8 to 5, a full 2 full days. Anywhere else, like at a NYU at SVA, that would be like $500 to $1,000, maybe $3,000 for the weekend. And it was great. And I took other course. I pretty much took as many courses as I could. Only one was called studio production, which was what I wanted to learn because I wanted to make a sitcom. And it just like was offered every time I was working in the clinic, so I really couldn't make it. However, I learned a ton, but that was like 4 years into practice. And I said 5 years. And at that point, I was like really gunning for being on television. I wanted to be more like a Sanjay Gupta, like a correspondent on television. And I got invited to talk about ACLs at their daytime television show. And I was dressed up. I was very professional. The lights came on. before the segment started recording, and I said, "This isn't me." And I was very professional. I did some demonstrations, and that's when I realized I'm definitely more of a storyteller. So I started learning as much as I could, and I fell into theater by accident. Not long after that, I fell into theater, and that's kind of when I started being like, "Whoa, this is a medium that I can tell stories and but tell stories about how to take care of your body." So that was the idea. And then, long story short, if you want to ask more specific questions, it pretty much starts with like you learn how to edit, then you learn about the cameras, and then I want to learn more VFX, and I learned After Effects. Then I got into 3D animation, 3D motion, motion capture, video games, VR, and it just kind of kept going, and then tech and different things. So you have to realize that as a filmmaker or creating content at the storytelling level, you tend to keep scaling up, and there's a lot of tech that's involved in this. And I looked into the 3D animation because I didn't have to rely on other people, even though that's my love. It's like I want to have you and me, Anatoly, doing a sketch or a short little series where we're bickering about something, and you have a bad back, and I am trying to help you, or not, or it's just about life when you're struggling with anxiety because your job is stressful, or you're trying to build this piece of content and you can't, so that was always my dream. But when I saw the 3D animation, I said, well, I don't have to rely on people. I can blow things up if I want. I can make myself into 10 feet tall. I can put an anatomy figure on. So there was a freedom in that I was able to do. The money kind of adds up depending on if you want to buy expensive assets or even the computer that you have to run things on. But there was a little bit of a better access. Not perfect, but there was a better access in the 3D animation and Unreal Engine type of space.
Got it. And so walk me through Gross Anatomy Studios, yourself being the founder. Mind sharing a little bit about it and how did it come to the point where you ended up opening up that studio?
So the idea came, I was trying to get a logo in 20, oh my gosh, this was I think 2017. I think it was 2017. And I was in Brooklyn, and there was a printing and graphic design company not far. And I was looking for a logo, and I asked them to do it because I lived nearby, and they were very, very good. And they came up with my Gross Anatomy logo, and I loved it. And the name came from the intention of one day making gross, like yuck anatomy videos. Like, I'd break your arm off and there's like blood spewing everywhere, or like you throw up or get kicked in the nuts or something, which I do the kicking in the nuts a lot, but but that was the double entendre. And also, gross anatomy is actually a course that we all take in the health professions. So it was like a perfect double kind of understanding. And it took a while, I was making gross anatomy sketches and skits, and it was just all video, and met people who helped me along the way. And it wasn't until 2021 that I formed the company. Happy Italy, got it, and then started making a business out of it. So that was pretty much it. It was because I made the web series, the 5 episode web series sitcom, and just talking to different producers who were giving me advice and mentors and coaches in the entertainment space were telling me, hey, you have to form an LLC or an entity as a filmmaker. I didn't know anything about it. So, and lo and behold, there was this company called E-Minutes, and they put out like for people of color filmmakers, we'll do the entity for free just at the cost of filing. So I did that, and they are still my representatives. So it was like a very amazing way to get access to this without having to spend like, five, $6,000. So I'm very grateful to them to this day. And that's how it started. And, first it's like, I'll get clients, which subsidizes a lot of the production costs that I have. And so that's how kind of the income kind of comes in. I'm able to produce these things, pretty much at no cost to the community or the people I work with. So that's how it came to be. And I wanted to, one of the ideas was, it was video, so TV, right, is my main passion. Then I got into microfilms recently with the group Uptown Actors. And I've never really cared to do a feature film. Now the opportunity arises, will I do it? Yes, of course. And theater, so live theater. So I've done both of those. But there came a point where I was really thinking about the business model of things with IPs, right? Star Wars. Barbie, you name it, pretty much Marvel, right? So you can start with one platform or one entity, and then how can you split it up to have um, five different platforms and messages to different types of people and also different income streams, right? So that's where really early I started to take Dr. Dennis to different places. I just started kind of doing the animation, the 2D animation, the 3D, the theater, the series, the short sketches. I never, and somebody told me to do Dr. Dennis for like short stuff, and I just never done it. I don't know why. So one of my next things is on LinkedIn to start doing little sketches about what I talk about, but more like me. But yeah, the idea was the business model. How do I make it sustainable during the pandemic, mind you? I had three income streams during the pandemic. I lost all three of them. So I said, well, if three wasn't enough for me, I need to have like five or six, up to 10 and multiple ones. But it was a matter of like maybe you like Anatoly, you like 2D animation, you love Adult Swim. Well, guess what? I have an animation of Gross Anatomy, Dr. Dennis in it. Here you go. What if you like I even did like an illustrated comic that I did as well. So if you like comic books, I have something like that. If you like live sitcoms, I have that, the theater. So it was just different methods of educating and reaching out and entertaining people that I saw quickly in the start of the business, just really dive in. Okay, how do I make this sustainable? If one of these pillars falls, I still have seven more and can help people and keep jobs open and stuff like one day. So that was part of the process. And then I just had fun doing it. There's things I don't enjoy. Like I did a podcast. By podcast, I mean it's like a narrative podcast. It's like an entertainment. It's not like a real interview. Dr. Dennis takes interview calls from wacky people and tries to help them with their problems. And I did three episodes. It was fun. It was great. It's not my favorite thing to do. So that's why I kind of like went like, but it's still out there. And if someone's like in 2 years is like, hey, we want to support you with this and can you keep this going? Guess what? I already have the foundation and the template for that script all done in the format and the sound effects of the libraries I can pull from. And there's a formula to it. So that's one of the things that has, when I formed Gross Anatomy Studios was really important to me.
And to give the audience a little bit more context, which platforms do you post on the most nowadays? And is it mostly that you produce all the different types of content? And just to list off some of them, web series, sitcom, musical theater, sketches, gaming, short film, 2D, 3D animation, and the podcast you mentioned as well. Like that's quite a bit. Like, where do you typically post? Is it all on your website? Do you run also an Instagram page? Where do you usually post?
Yeah, it's almost like a funnel or a web or a business card, right? LinkedIn is where I show you everything about me. That's where you get to know me the best. You took LinkedIn and put into your content AI. It shows you everything about me. So it's like spot on. Instagram is just snippets. It's advertising stuff. It's like little pockets of, hey, I do this. Don't forget I do this. Oh, don't forget about this thing I made, and just little clips so that it guides you into, the YouTube series or the Amazon Prime. YouTube is
Mhm.
where I have everything completed. All the finished work is on YouTube. I used to have Facebook, which had my biggest following, and I lost it in 2022. Someone hacked my account, and I lost everything,
Oh, damn.
everything. Yeah, so Facebook is like the main thing since like I was day one, the very first Gross Anatomy post was there. And so now LinkedIn has turned into my main source of like my information. And the point of LinkedIn for me was I knew I wanted to be on network television, at least at the time, right? And I knew the executives were on LinkedIn stealthily watching. And if I could post just enough, I just need one person with a decision making at one of these places that I would kind of be able to get my dream done, right? So now I'm more open, right? My thing lives on YouTube and I can monetize and help everybody. I'm totally fine. If Tubi comes, if Netflix comes, if Hulu comes, I'm totally fine. But even if it's on YouTube, I'm actually great because there's a little bit more ownership rights. But so that's kind of how I have it. LinkedIn is everything right now. Instagram kind of shows little snippets of things, and then my YouTube is where everything completed lives. I hide some things every now and then to kind of just make sure I don't confuse people or add stuff if I need to, but there's like private or unlisted things. If someone says we want to see your 3D VR animation, I have a reel for that. Or a virtual production, I have one that's I think it's hidden, but I may have put it public again last week. So yeah, so that's kind of it. And LinkedIn for me has been very positive. I know people say there's cringy stuff. I get sales, I definitely do, but I'm able to filter those out, and I do get pretty genuine calls, like y'all are reaching out, and it was like, "Are you sure you want to interview me? Like, what's it? How much is it? Like, what do I have to do? What's the catch, right?" But I've met really cool people. I've gotten, some jobs out of it, some gigs out of it, some cool collaborations, mentors out of it. People taught me Unreal Engine, were on LinkedIn that just graciously lent me their time to do something like this and teach me. So that's where, I kind of am mostly on LinkedIn right now. But it feeds into everything else a lot of the time. And then I have episode one on Amazon Prime of my web series. So that's kind of Amazon knows self distribution. So
Yeah, and Amazon Prime is massive. Like I
mhm.
think it's big success to be featured on something like that, and it's something that you get to display across your socials along with the different TV platforms that you've been on.
Mhm.
And mind walking me through how it's been possible for one person to manage all these different skill sets and animation styles. It seems like it would almost take a quite sizable content team to produce across so many different disciplines.
Oh, the question everybody asks for the past 10 years. And mind you, like right now, I work 3 days in the clinic as a manager for performance practice where we treat Broadway performers.
And that's
But I
all
was
whilst working at a clinic still.
Yeah, right. And building little operational tech tools and on my off time as well. And seeing patients and being backstage. That's now. There was an era I was working full time and I was working in the clinic and teaching as well.
Mhm.
Traveling an hour and a half. Uh, Part of it is natural. I just have a lot of energy and I run on little sleep, which I'm improving, like I'm doing better. But it was really, I didn't have a choice. I couldn't go back to film school. I couldn't hire my buddy from Ithaca College to make videos every week because it was $700 at a discounted rate to make 3 minutes of footage. And I was like, oh, well, let's do this one time and let's see if I can make money off of this. Obviously, it didn't work as easy as I thought because I didn't really know about business and selling and product market fit and even just marketing, right? So, really, it was I would go to work. I would work out after work. Let's just say I got off of work at 7 o'clock, 6, 7 o'clock. I would work out till 9 and then eat dinner. And then from 10 to 2 a.m., I would be on YouTube learning Adobe After Effects or Premiere Pro or Final Cut or color correction or motion graphics or how to make my DSLR cinematic. So then there was an era where I was performing. I was getting my acting chops. So 2013, yeah, 2013 until 2017, I was doing community theater shows and got paid for a couple small theater projects. And that was like but that kind of came natural. Like I felt really comfortable there, and I danced in college, and so that acting part was I'd go to work and then go right to rehearsal. And right after those 4 years of just like nonstop just being in theater and performing, I started writing my own things because I just saw the opportunities for someone who looked like me and with my background without formal education in the arts. I had to make my own kind of path. So whatever pocket of time was on the subway, if I was on the subway and that 45 minutes, I was trying to check my phone or reading an article or going on a Quora forum, trying to figure out how to solve this problem or how do I start making a web series, reading books like Save the Cat, learning about actual filmmaking, TV structure and formatting, and why are there formulas and every page has a format for the commercial breaks, but also just the act 1 through 3 story arc, right? All the basic stuff. Sound design, music, right? I also can play music and I can write songs. So whatever pocket of time I had, I would do it. And even, to this day, if I'm walking down the street and something I see gives me an idea, I open up my phone and my notes app, and it's going in there right away. So whatever pocket I have, it's supposed to have to turn that off too. And that's like an important thing that I've been trying to improve is just kind of turning it off. But to answer your question, it was, yeah, I'm someone who doesn't run on much sleep. When after a few years, I try to really fix it as a healthcare provider, telling my patients, I'm like, I take my own advice as much as I can. But yeah, it was just, there was a drive there, there was a passion there. And I discovered acting and that I could do it. That was like, this is fun. And I do this with several people. That's even better. And television was kind of what I was raised on, and watching these actors and these stories. And, I follow the creator or writer of Home Improvement, Matthew Williams, I think, and watching him talk about why he wrote these things. And it was just such a memorable part of my upbringing, growing up in a very violent neighborhood and underserved to see these families have their struggles, but also have a positive ending, as a student, seeing a lot of pain in rehab, not just physical, but a lot of times there's emotional pain and mental pain. I said, this medium of television and the screen, for some reason, either our mirror neurons do something to us. And that's why I was so driven to stay up till 3 in the morning when I had to be up at 7 a.m. to learn how to use, it's Adobe Illustrator, even though I don't use it anymore, but I learned the principle. So when I talk to an animator, or my friend does the animations for me, I know exactly what framing to have. So it's minimal work, but high production quality. So the big, like as minimal budget wise, highest quality, right? Because you can increase the budget and the quality doesn't go up because then you lack in storytelling or you lack in design, right? So those were the drivers. So if you don't have that motivation, that passion, staying up to 3 a.m. is harder. It's hard to go to bed at 3 a.m. when you're
I
at
feel
that
you.
point, you know?
I've had that. I've had that this past week where like I'm testing out some new tech that can help us content side. And a lot of it is just prompting, is just prompt
Hmm.
engineering. And
Refining and
myself,
refining.
exactly. And refining, and I'm up until 3:30 on a Sunday.
Hmm.
Uh not spending time with girls on Valentine's Day, instead just like being at the computer testing out the clockbot because I'm excited at its capabilities. And I'm frustrated as hell because it's not working in the way that I wanted to. And then I go and I start cross-referencing between different AIs, and the eyes are telling me like, hey man, like you're pushing this thing to its limits. It's not meant for that. And just it's
Yeah.
a puzzle. It's a continuous puzzle, but it needs to stem, I think, from interest and curiosity for us
Hmm.
to stay up late, sacrificing your own time, sacrificing our
Right.
personal lives in order to get that progress.
Yeah, that's something I struggle. Yeah, Valentine's Day, my girlfriend called me out. It's like, "Hey, can you get off your phone?" I was like, "I'm checking my LinkedIn. This happened." She's like, "I don't care," and she was right. And so one of the things that I pride myself in now is I can get a lot done when I go to the bathroom. I get a lot done when I take out the garbage. I get a lot done when I'm walking to the train by myself. So those aren't maybe like pockets of like productivity.
Mhm.
Writing a script, I've trained myself that I process the script in my head over and over and over again. Maybe I'll write notes down, but really I practice in my head what it's going to look like on screen, and then also like kind of like a mental kind of imagery of me actually writing the script. So when I write it, it comes out of me really fast so that I don't have to spend so much time at the computer while I'm with other people or be like, I need 3 hours by myself. I spend those 3 hours on the train planning that. So when I set the computer, it takes me 3 minutes. Sorry, 5 minutes to write a three-page script, let's just say. And then maybe I sit on it, think about it, read it again. So total, it's like 15 minutes or something like that. So yeah, so that's practice though. That's knowing that when I sit down and edit one of the films, I know where to pull the assets. I know what sound it is. I know what music is. And a lot of times I'll go into La La Land or become a space. I'll be like hanging out with somebody and just look off into space and like, did I lose you? And I'm like, oh, sorry, what happened? And I just like lose it. So there's almost like this spectrum that I'm trying to refine and get better, friends and family in important moments. But I also did a lot of legwork early on, like in my 20s. I'm 41 now. In my 20s, I mean, I was going hard for physical therapy the first 4 years. Like every article I could read, I was reading it. I was reading textbooks. I was treating people in the bar. I was treating people at a party. I was asking people about their injuries and telling them. reading books and watching influencers at the time and mentoring with random people I would meet. Like, can I watch you? And they're like, what? Who are you? I'm like, I'm Adrian, and I know you're a famous physical therapist, and can I watch you? And like, I guess. So I was very pushy, and even when I started the film part, I would ask, my friends all were TV production and film production graduates. Hey, I'm learning Final Cut. How do you do this? And they would tell me, or I'm using this cam. What camera should I buy? So a lot of my friends from college were really helpful for that. But yeah, it's been something I'm working on. I've been working on, but I did front load a lot of that time in my early career in life.
And when it comes to deciding what to produce next, and you touched a little bit on that planning portion, that time in between maybe moving between home and job, you spend planning and thinking and brainstorming so that way you can really save the time once you're in front of the computer to do the work.
Mhm.
What does your content strategy or content plan look like? How do you determine what kind of content to even produce in the first place between all the different tools that you have? Because I think when you have an option of 100 different tools to choose from, it's much tougher to decide than, let's say, just having a hammer and doing the job.
Mhm.
When you have such an option, such a wide array of different scales and possibilities of the animation styles to do, how do you determine what to write and build next?
Yeah, well, nowadays it comes there's two columns. One is someone asks me to do something, or I have an idea, I want to get it done, and I kind of help them bring it to life. The other one is life happens. For example, I was scrolling on my Instagram, and this woman I met at this theater meetup in my neighborhood posted a picture of her son doing a high kick, taekwondo kick. And there was like four or five images where he's doing like a spin kick, a tornado kick. He's like in the middle of a kata, and I was like, "Oh wow, this kid's like really impressive." So it just stuck in my head, and I said, "I wonder if fill in the blank. Wonder if I can make something with this kid." About 2 weeks later, I messaged her, and I was like, "Hey, I have an idea." And I was like, I started Uptown Actors. You've seen some of the stuff. Any chance your son might want to be in a film, like a martial arts film, action film? Yes. And so we met with him and his dad, who happens to be a writer, like a very successful writer. So I'm there being like, I'm intimidated, but let's do this. And I met with him and I said, I just always meet with people I want to work with because I get a sense of their desires, who they are, what kind of character to build, um, a sense of what kind of character they might fit into. And as we're talking, I kind of get more information and I start playing in my head little scenes. And then when I'm done, I usually can wait maybe a few days, a week, 2 weeks, and I get the script written in my head. It just happens. Right. So that just happened last week that I met with him and his dad. And I reached out last night saying, any comments, any concerns, let me know. And now this week I can write the script. But it's kind of based on Three Ninjas, a movie back in the day, in the 90s. And I'm the bad guy. So I don't know what I'm getting yet. I don't know what he needs. But I also pull it from real life experiences. So like he said, he was afraid of needles. How do I work that into the script for another person? I'm afraid of needles to this day. I told him like, me too. I look the other way, and yeah, I'm still scared, so I never went away. And I said, there's other people who have fears, and how do I put that into a script? Then it's resources. What locations can I film? And as a physical therapist, this is like my LinkedIn post of late. I have to think about safety for everybody. And I can do fight choreography. I also have martial arts background. The father very kindly was like, can we do it on the subway platform? I was like, yes, I had that idea, but what happens if one of us slips? And that's full concrete. How close are we to the nearest urgent care or home to like bandage us? How much do I bring? I know how to do that, but I want to reduce the risk as much as possible. It's his first time acting and fighting on camera. So I have to think about what locations do I have available, who do I know, what businesses might let me do this, my apartment, their apartment, my stairwell, my lobby, my hallway. So that's where like the resources come in, and then after that, after the script is written and the resources are put, and I have the locations, usually it's simple after that. That's kind of like the hardest part is the ideation, the development, and the writing the script itself. So then it's the resources. Where can we do this? Because usually I find the actors, the idea comes first, and even the skeleton of an idea. I want to be the bad guy. I want a kid to kick my butt who's a martial artist. And now I have to write the script and I have to create this character and the story around it. But when I'm watching Netflix, I'll get the idea maybe tonight, tomorrow, maybe on Friday. But usually once I put that in my head, my body's already looking for the answers on the background. It's like an AI agent running nonstop. And then I can focus on the theater. So I have another theater production I'm trying to plan to reduce some constraints I had in the first one in December. So then I can start planning on that, and then I can let that kind of sit quietly for a week or two, and then something else comes up. So it's really just kind of switching gears. After this, you probably have another call or something else to do, or maybe you have to be on your computer. I think we also just naturally are multi-screeners nowadays and have low attention spans. So if I can chunk things out to 20 minutes, it's natural for me. I can write a script in 20 minutes. I did it last night, right? For a friend who wanted me to create this kind of real stories of New York City. It's bilingual. It's a series, like it has a TV show slot in the Dominican Republic, like prime time, 9 p.m. So I wrote the first 10 pages last night. Now he
Wow.
can give me feedback, and then when he gives it back to me tomorrow, I could write the next 10 pages and make sure that I'm going in the right direction. So that's how I can kind of do a lot of the things, and it's just opportunities. I don't, usually it's what's in front of me, what's available. How do I build something around that? So that's really the answer to how do I choose and select and time and like I have I'm a swing dancer, performer and competitor, and it's a hobby of mine, and I, get tired every now and then to do some things, but there's a lot of cultural history that's sort of being lost from a dance that was made in Harlem. So I'm making a film, a dance movie, based around kind of the contemporization of that, of the social injustices that were happening in that era, but also combining hip hop and swing dancing. And I got it took me a while to get the venue, to get permission to do it at a low cost or at cost, and then get the main actor schedule on point. And we're gonna film this weekend, but I'm gonna have to push it back, and I'm okay with that, right? But most of the time, I can just keep moving forward. So it's just like the world gives me these ideas, and I'll have a passion, or I'll wake up one morning. I really want to dance and sing in a film. I really want to fight in a film. I really want to use this museum. So how do I, get that done as quickly as possible? And then the other, like I told you, the other one is someone asked me for something. Hey, can you help me with this, or can you do this, or I want to play this character, or I want to do this in the film. Can you help me with that? Then I make it happen. So that's how it happens now.
Got it. And when it comes to you, and you briefly alluded to the business side of things, the
Yeah.
monetization process, do you typically, is it the kind of scenario where someone comes to you and has a particular script and you raise the money for that and then produce it? Or is it more so the scenario where you produce it and then figure out a way to monetize it?
Talking about monetization, right? So ask the
Yeah,
question one more time.
how does monetization work when it comes to the life cycle of your content? Is it the kind of scenario where you have to raise the money first in order to produce it, or do you have an idea, produce it first, and then look to monetize off of the content that you've built?
Good question. All the above, yes. So all the above, yes. Yes, and yeah, so I'll get a client, right? And I'll put obviously there's the cost of business of doing business, right? After that, I'll set a percentage for production, right? Um, and then other times, like I got in for my West Series, I got an investor. My mentor invested money into it. So did my older brother, and then I got a grant, right? And so now in the business aspect, I'm trying to kind of create things that will generate revenue on not on their own, but generate more revenue. So, for example, uh, the play. Very little capital, Like, and I also put my own personal money from my paycheck towards things, 250 bucks, 500, but I keep it so lean that I can make a profit. So for the play, it was in the community, paid for the rental space and charged tickets, which weren't very high and made a profit, like 39% profit. But it was that's when I have resources. Like I'm now thinking in a different way of making sure that my overhead is low and I can create a profit, right? So, for example, I today I made a VR experience of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. Are you familiar with that? It's a poem by Edgar Allan Poe.
Ah,
It's like
Edgar
a
Allan Poe, yes.
yeah. So it's a VR experience I created myself, and then I
Wow.
just put on LinkedIn. I put on LinkedIn, and a company reached out to me to talk about it, and it kind of helped me to realize I have connections in the education industry. Let me reach out to see how I can monetize this. If they'll give me like a pre-sale contract, and I can build this out for schools, for high schools who are learning Edgar Allan Poe in a different way. Like I was not a good reader, and I did not like English class at all, and now I write all the time, you know. So, um, so that's like one avenue. The play, Uptown Books, we made money. We sold tickets. It was first time self-produced. So I had to think about how can I keep my overhead low. The most money I spent was marketing, really, for a micro influencer in the neighborhood. And then I just did all the marketing, all the marketing. So now that play is written. Now I can sell that to schools. I can create workshops, as a friend of mine kind of suggested. So then if I get money from that workshop, I invest it back into a production of Uptown Actors or Gross Anatomy or whatever I want to do. Or maybe like for example, I made a mobile app game, like a third person shooter to learn anatomy. It was just Android first because it was cheaper and faster. And now I have some money I can spend to get the iOS version of that. So I just reached out to the developer and waiting to hear back. So it's weird. It's like I kind of have to move things around and I get this client and I have enough money to put on this production. So I put a portion of it, then the production creates revenue, and then that profit I put into another piece that maybe will generate some profit. And then I get another client and I put that money, some money aside to the business itself and also to this next project. We got the little payment to screen our films, and that money goes to maybe my GitHub or my Envato subscription, but then a percentage goes towards fill in the blank next production. Maybe I can buy an outfit for this one from this client that I made, but now I'm also really focusing on how can I create the IP and sell that? Even if I can't perform it all the time, how does that live on and make some revenue? Amazon Prime, I don't market that very much for bandwidth right now. It could either one day just kind of kick off all of a sudden. I have to put a lot of marketing into it, and that's totally fine. But it's just not my priority right now. I think in the summer it will be. I'll kind of just maybe stop everything for a month and just go hard on the prime and see if that kind of starts to get that ball rolling. Then I can pull back and it kind of generates, maybe a few $100 a month for by the end of the year. That would be completely fine. But yeah, it's interesting how it happens, because I have IP I'm trying to build and multiple platforms. When people see that and then they hire me to do their projects. And that income helps me subsidize some of this stuff. But the original stuff, now I'm trying to really see how I can get that to become a sales point, a product, a service that I can create. I started teaching intro to screenwriting courses just last week. So the idea of that is I'll teach you everything I know as a physical therapist first, who learned all these things on his own with help, of course. People give me advice and stuff like that along the way. Now I can teach you without going to film school at a very low cost, but you're helping me give more opportunities to people in the community as well. So intro to screenwriting we did already, trying to do it again. And then intro to acting, intro to directing, intro to playwriting. Probably by the next March, we'll have all of those going. And I offered the New York Public Library and the branches near me, the two near me, to do it for free. For me, that's kind of a lead magnet as well. That maybe one person's like, "Hey, I have $500. Can you help me write a full film or something like that, or a little container, as I call it?" So yeah, so that's kind of how the revenue is working. And every business, owner changes their revenue business model. It's you just kind of hedge and something kind of sticks, and then you kind of focus on that, and then something else sticks and you focus on that. But I as I mentioned, like the IP has so many different kind of webs. It's like a world, it's a story world. So that I have 12 different IP or franchises. Each one gives a solution to somebody or somewhere. So so it's complicated. I wish I could tell you, oh, I sell books.
It
I
seems
sold
it
my
seems like
script.
it's a whole
Yeah.
bunch of different models. And
Hmm.
within the process, you're being very resourceful to tap into not just your own connections, but your community, your LinkedIn outreach. Like there's a whole bunch of different methods and niches that you operate under that the scope, just listening to it, it seems to be very, very wide of all the different things you do, which is very impressive. Between how you produce the content from start to end, operationally, what has been the biggest bottleneck for you?
Editing, editing. It's just my least favorite thing to do. I'm a very good editor. I just have a hard time getting to the computer, and if I really, really plan it, it's much, much easier. But editing has been the bottleneck, and as far as with other people I work with as well, we all kind of agree that that's where I have my eyes open. Like, who really enjoys editing, even if you're not amazing. We had one with the short film Migra that we just finished. I think I posted it last week or 2 weeks ago. He works. He's a vice president of something, and he was an actor and like a really good actor, and did a lot of professional things, and wanted to get back to it. And he ended up editing it, and he's not a professional editor, and he did a great job. And there were some things I had to give him notes on, but I was like, hey, if you want to keep editing for us, and he was like, well, if I'm in it, I have more motivation. If I'm not, not as much. But that's really the number one thing. And I've looked at plugins like auto AI editors out there, and it looks fascinating, but I never was able to implement it myself, or yeah, I just didn't. I think I looked at it and I was like, I feel like there's a lot of work to be done to get this plugin in. But yeah, editing, if editing, I can fix that. So that problem where I don't have to be involved in it. I mean, I would crank everything up even faster and more. So that's really the bottleneck. And like any business owner is really the business, but that's secondary. I think there's a quote recently, it was like, quantity has a quality of its own. Like, I'm all about quality, but just doing all these films have given some of the actors opportunities that for their websites, for their getting jobs and stuff like that, their reels. Um, People hired each other, whether it was performative or even like dog walking. So there's been like an interesting thing that's happened, that people are just helping each other out. But so the business model, that's a secondary thing, but editing, so if I can get more quantity of things out there, we may have better odds of doing things and getting more funding and finances or capital or investors or sponsorships or clients as well. So that's kind of that's the main bottleneck is editing.
And when promoting, it sounds like you do a little bit of advertising and social media. Do you find
Oh yeah.
yourself having to create content around that as well to really promote and bring the people in?
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've had DMs of people like, I want to act. Let me know if you need somebody. But yeah, I'll make us, the posters or the thumbnail, put it on Instagram and put the link to it. I'll take little clips of it, put it on my Instagram grid, and LinkedIn, same thing. I'll drive traffic to the YouTube channels and stuff like that. And so yeah, I urge everybody involved to promote it, but I don't expect them to either. So when they do, I'm like so happy. But yeah, I'm constantly promoting, on Instagram and LinkedIn to go watch it on YouTube, really. If I like the game, I'll have like the executable file. I'll be like, I'll share it with you if you want it. But yeah, I'm constantly promoting things. Now I'm in LinkedIn, I'm kind of moving more towards like thought leader, like trying to got to get people to quickly know who I am and what I do, because it seems so different, right? So your bio about me was like spot on, like exactly it. And people ask me, how do they go from physical therapy to filmmaking, theater, creating content, even learning 3D animation, right? It doesn't make sense. And there is a thread that connects everything to it for sure. I'm trying to heal pain, whether it's emotional, whether it's you want to do a script and you don't know how to start. You have a full-time job and a family. How do you start making a film? I mean, it's a creative passion of yours, and you're shy to tell somebody. How do you run up and down the street for a film shoot 20 times and not get injured and you're not a runner? I can help you do that, right? How do you perform this lift with a partner or this fight choreography or standing still, believe it or not? And as a physical therapist, I can t teach you, but also I do it. So that's where it kind of goes in line. Motion capture. How do I help somebody make sure that their performance matches the character and their body can sustain it over and over and over again with whatever environment they're doing? So there's such a clear path that in my mind it's easy, but for everybody else, I have to explain it better and and even the tech stuff. I'm a manager of a clinic. How do we do better dashboards and financials and calling insurance companies? Like I'm working on an agent to call insurance companies. So we don't have to wait on hold or push one or three and we get our insurance authorization. And I learned it because I learned After Effects and expressions and Unreal Engine, a little, tiny little bit of C or C sharp coding. I forget which one it is, but and different tech plugins and tools, and now it's AI. We're talking about Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini. I go back and forth, and I don't want to pay for Claude yet. I will, but I'm like going from ChatGPT to Claude, and I'll probably be a Claude user moving forward. But it all kind of like adds up. My friend who was at that VFX company, watching him be a storyteller, but knowing all these crazy, I don't know, in tech terms for media, I was like, I guess I have to learn that someday. I don't expect to be at that level. I don't need to be at it with what I know, but I'm at a place where I'm kind of comfortable with it. AI just helps me create, sometimes content or ideas on monetization. It helps me come up, just brainstorm because I'm a brainstormer. And there's not too many people out there who do everything. We're solopreneurs who do every bit of things. That's hard to come by. So for me, unfortunately, AI gives me ideas. I bounce back and forth. It never writes anything for me. I always edit things. But it does give me a lot of like ideas to think about and ponder and sometimes copy from my Eventbrite. I'll still edit it, but it saves me so much time. The designs I create, I don't do any kind of imaging on that. So yeah, there's like a project that has nothing to do with entertainment really. I'm trying to build an at-home raked stage, and ChatGPT gave me the dimensions of it. So when I talked to like some woodworkers, carpenters, they were able to be like, yeah, I can do that, and they have their dimensions. So yeah, the point is like I'm trying to get people who are in raked stage performances practice time so they don't get injured as much. And I'm able to provide that as a product to the community of people who dance on raked stages that are at an angle. So yeah, those are the tools I use and they're helpful, but everything I do is like human created.
Absolutely. And I'm tracking that we're almost at time. Would you have an extra few minutes for a quick rapid fire round of questions?
Yeah, I have to be off at 1 o'clock on the dot for another call. Yeah.
Sounds good. We'll keep it to that. I did as well, but then ended up getting that call canceled.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it happens, right?
Starting with question number one, then I'm gonna keep it short and sweet.
Right.
Top three AI tools that you use and love for content.
For yeah, just Claude, ChatGPT, Canva, and because Canva has AI capabilities.
What's the best piece of content you've ever made?
Oh, the best piece of honestly, it was my episode 2 of my web series.
Nice. Most overrated social platform.
Most overrated. Wow, that's a good question. Adobe. Oh, you said social platform or just platform in general?
Social platform.
No, social platform overrated. I would say Instagram.
What about underrated?
Oh, LinkedIn, easily. LinkedIn or maybe even Snapchat. And I'm not even on Snapchat much at all. So,
It sounds like LinkedIn has led you to a lot of business and really useful conversations.
oh yeah. I mean, led me to you. So, clearly.
Film or theater?
Oh, theater.
If you could only make content in one format for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
TV series episodic online.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten about content?
Just keep refining your craft.
What's the worst piece of advice you've ever received on content?
Just keep it simple. Talk to the camera.
And this is going to be the last question.
hmm
If you were to leave the world tomorrow, what would be your last message to the youth?
To the youth. Um, find people to help, whether it's a person, a group of people, a certain neighborhood, a community, like-mindedness, a certain group. Just help them. Find a solution that will solve problems.
Be useful and make people's life easier. Adrian, if people were to look for you, where can they find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Adrian Miranda PT. It should say physical therapist for Broadway shows. Instagram is at Gross Anatomy Studios. YouTube.com/Gross Anatomy. And those are the main places. Amazon Prime. Look for Gross Anatomy web series Adrian Miranda. I should pop up. And then the next four episodes should be up on Amazon, I think maybe like this summer as well. So all five episodes should be up there. And those are my three socials pretty much that I use. Nothing else really.
Nice. Love it. Adrian, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.